What is up, everybody? It is Alex from Heavy New York calling from the quarantine zone again. This time we got some down and dirty rock from Dirty Jersey themselves. We are here with Them Damn Kings. Thank you so much for your time today, Jeff.
Absolutely, man. Thank you for having me.
Yep, it's great to have you here. So you have the new album Rise Up coming out very soon. Could the first single that you released, Throw It All Away, almost serve as like a clear representation of what Rise Up is going to sound like, or is that just like one little taste of it?
Yeah, it kind of sums it up a little bit. I mean, it's definitely a taste of it. Throw It Away is definitely more of a down and gritty, straight up rock and roll song. There's a couple of songs on the album that are a little bit more, I would say, in depth. But it's a pretty good representation of what you're going to get.
Okay. Was there kind of like a preconceived idea of how you wanted Rise Up to sound like, or was there kind of like a lot of trial and error, maybe some experimentation involved?
I always kind of go into it, just approaching, songwriting is just, straight rock and roll. This is what I want to make. I'm always looking to make like the next Ozzy record, or Alice in Chains or Guns N' Roses kind of thing. But, so there were a few ideas that I had kind of floating around, and when Ryan got out here to track the drums, everything just kind of changed. He was a real good, he had real good input, and was definitely an influence on the way things kind of shaped up.
Yeah, I thought there was kind of like both, like with so far the only single I heard was "Throw It All Away," but like what I find unique is that like it feels like there's something very classical about it, like very vintage, but also something very modern. So it seems like you guys tackle many different time periods with your sound, right?
It's cool because Ryan's more, he's more into what's kind of happening on the newer side of everything, and I'm always thinking old school, the 80s, 70s, kind of vintage rock and roll type stuff, and we kind of share the same attitudes, but he definitely he likes a lot of the newer metal bands that are out there. One of his favorites is Protest the Hero, and I don't really know too much about them, but he loves those guys. Like I love Ozzy Osbourne, and so having that newer flavor, as opposed to old dirty rock and roller here. I think that really affected the outcome of what we ended up doing with the music.
Yeah, well, I feel like, I definitely don't sound like Protest the Hero at all, but like, even though it does have that down and dirty rock and roll side, I think really the goal for Them Damn Kings right now, like you guys are also working to find your own identity as well, right?
Yeah. It started out as a kind of a one-man project. I put out, Them Damn Kings put out an EP a couple years ago now, and I did everything on the record. I sang, played guitar, did the drums, did the bass, and this time I kind of wanted to approach it more of a band situation. So Ryan was just departing Lacuna Coil at the time when this record was starting to get come into light, and I asked him if he'd come out here and drum on it, and that's it. It just everything kind of changed and took a different light when he got out here.
Yeah, Ryan is a phenomenal drummer. I've seen him play with Lacuna Coil countless times, so that's a great addition to have input from that standpoint.
Yeah, he's a great drummer. I mean, he's a great friend of mine, and he's one of the best drummers out there. He's super, super heavy hitter. And that's really what I look for in a drummer. And, that guy can just wail the crap out of those drums. And that's what you want in a rock band. And I'll tell you. And, I can't even say enough good things about him.
Yeah, well, he played with Burn Halo and After Midnight Project as well, so, which is more like hard rock oriented in a way. So I think it works out for the best as well. It's one thing to have a style in mind, but if you could tackle multiple styles and just switch between them, that takes a lot of talent right there as well.
Yeah, and Ryan can he's so, adaptable in those kind of situations, but when he came out to do this, it was great because, I only had a couple ideas and, I threw out a couple little demo tracks to him and, I just said like, hey, listen, come out and just pay no attention to what I just said, you man. Throw your own 2 cents in. And, I really want what Ryan Folden's all about on this album too, And so when we go to do the next one, I really just want that approach where, we're all just kind of in the same room, and whatever comes out is what comes out.
Yeah. Do you find it a little bit easier, like, to come up with new ideas for you when you're, like, maybe more alone? Because, isolation is such a great fuel for creativity nowadays. Or do you prefer to be in the company of your other bandmates in order to, like, come up with some new ideas and form the songs?
I think I've spent so much of my life kind of just, in isolation, playing my own stuff and, writing my own way that, I never really kind of thought that I could get with a couple guys and make some good music together. And, now I find that, it's like having the missing pieces, it's like you got that jigsaw puzzle almost finished, but, it's just missing that extra little flavor, the extra little attitude going on there. And, things that happened on this record, I went into it kind of approaching it a certain way. And, Ryan just changed kind of everything, not in the sense of like he came in and said, do this, do that. It's just as soon as we started jamming together and playing, just the for example, one of the songs that we were working on, it was just kind of a straightforward 4/4 rock and roll. And Ryan did this kind of off time, intricate kind of fill on the drums, and it just changed everything. All of a sudden, I heard all this different stuff going on in the song. Went back and started re-recording that. Sadly, it didn't make the album. But who knows if it'll be a B-side or floating around out there sooner or later. But just the fact that having that different, kind of creative style going on really inspired me. Ryan inspired me to kind of hear something that I would have never heard,
Yeah. You ever worried that song you leave out of the record is going to be a B-side, but also be the biggest hit you guys ever had?
I wouldn't say I'm worried about it because whatever's meant to be is meant to be. I know a lot of people kind of go in approaching a record or songs is like, well, we have to write a certain way. We have to do it this way. This needs to happen. I think guys go in there, trying to make a hit where it's, whatever's happened is what's happening for us. That's what happened in this particular moment in time in life. And you know what? 3 months down the road, we're going to be in different spots, so something different's going to come out. So I don't really think that, going in and approaching I'd love that to happen, of course. It'd be really terrible if I got reels full of songs left and right. Who knows? The biggest thing since sliced bread could be sitting in the basement, right?
Yeah. Well, I've always said there's rock and roll heaven, there's rock and roll hell, but there's also rock and roll purgatory, and that purgatory is what I call the realm of forgotten riffs, the realm of forgotten songs, the realm of songs that never saw the light of day.
Yeah, there is definitely a lot of that. I've got Pro Tools here too, and I've probably got 6 terabytes, full of external hard drives with either half songs or full songs, or just that it would probably take a lifetime to go through them all, man. And if it was up to me, I'd be putting out a record every week,
Yeah. Can you imagine too, like, and maybe about like 100 years from now, we go to like a rock and roll museum or something like that, we see like, this guitar player's guitar on display, or, these original drumsticks on the first show. But watch, there's going to be external hard drives in museums one day being like, what files are on that hard drive? You will never know.
Man, I never even really thought about that. That's actually interesting, and it probably will happen too at some point in time. That's it's really interesting.
People could bring their own flash drives and like download the data and listen to it at home. You have to pay $100 to enter. It's a good idea. That's a
I like that.
yeah. Or like do a hard drive scavenger hunt, bury it somewhere in the country and give hints. I think there's a lot of cool ideas we could do with hard drives in the future.
I think, didn't Nine Inch Nails do something like that? Wasn't there this thing where they were hiding? I can't remember if it was Nine Inch Nails, but it was a band. They were putting little flash drives just kind of around different, when they were playing in a town, just hiding them somewhere. And it was like a big kind of, Easter egg kind of hunt, I can't remember who that was now.
Well,
I feel like it was Nine Inch Nails.
I would hope that it wasn't Nine Inch Nails because with their dedicated fan base, I don't want people killing each other over it.
Right, man. No, I can't remember who that was, but I remember reading about that a while back. It was interesting. I thought it was a pretty cool idea.
Definitely. For you as a vocalist, has there ever been a time where though maybe like lyrics or maybe a subject matter could help influence the direction of the music, or have you always needed like the music itself in order to come up with some lyrical ideas?
No, it's kind of back and forth. Like with this song "Throw It Away," all the music was written first, and the lyrics were actually the very last of the song. Almost didn't make the record cut. I'd come up with the music in about 5 minutes, and I just kept hearing "throw it away," but no other lyrics at all. And like the last second before everything went off to mastering, it hit me, and I got all the lyrics down. But then sometimes it's the lyrics first, and I have to sit there and try to figure out, okay, what kind of melody is going to go behind these lyrics. I'll hear the way I want the kind of vocal lines to go in my head, but and it's like, all right, what chords are going to work? So then, it's interesting to approach it two different ways. To kind of feel like bipolar about it.
Yeah. Have you ever had like the best lyrics ever too, but then they're always like one syllable over like every arrangement?
Yeah, and it happens all the time. I can sit here and write, and it's always. I think on the song "Good Enough," that's on the new album, that kind of happened where it's like I ended up rewriting a few parts just numerous times because it's like it always just kind of kept going. I can't fit this, or I can't, I'd have to speak like that guy who does the auctions, to fit everything in properly, and then I always have to go back and kind of strip things down to the basics, which I kind of like because it's you kind of get this story going, and you have to actually fit it to the music. So, you kind of sit back, and it's almost like a thinking man's game because you got to go like, well, how the hell can I strip this down to say the same thing in, like 6 or less words,
Yeah, well, I've always thought that Slayer was very good at that. Like, Tom Araya was really good at, like, conveying the narrative of the story and, like, really expressing that. There's a famous saying now, especially when Slayer put out Diabolus in Musica, they were saying, Tom Araya is my favorite rapper. So...
That's cool, man. Yeah, he is really freaking amazing when it comes to that.
Definitely. Now, like, do you like to leave lyrics open to interpretation, or being that, you do put a lot of work into it and, you bend over backwards to make it fit and still make it work? Do you try to maybe engage the listener into the story to see things from Them Damn Kings' point of view?
I try to leave I know what it means for me, but I do like to leave everything kind of open for interpretation. I really enjoy writing something out that can mean, 10 different things. There's a couple songs that are real, partial to me, just from other bands where it's like, I took a certain meaning and I thought that that's what the song meant. And then you read about the song and it's like, wow, I never saw it that way. That's how, that's what they're trying to say. And, as straightforward as it is, that's not what I got from it. So I get really excited when I can look at what I've written and, start seeing different ways that you can look at the song. So, I've always really liked the idea that, people can take, what they need from the song and what it means for them, because, music is a personal thing. And, again, I know what it means for me. And, it's really cool when I hear people coming up and telling me, what it means to them.
Definitely, definitely, and I think it's always good that, like, because it's this could just be my personal like preference, but like if an artist says, "Oh, it's whatever you want it to be," that sounds such like a cop out and not explaining your work. But I feel like your music's open enough to interpretation. But if somebody asks you what were you feeling when you wrote the lyrics to "Throw It All Away," or what was going through your mind, you're not going to hesitate to explain it, right?
No, of course, and I mean, people have asked me this a couple times now, and when I was writing it, it was just, looking at the way the world has started, going, and the way people are arguing back and forth. I think I was looking at like, social media at that particular point in time, and just like, watching these people going off about these people, and it's like, man, where did all this craziness come from? I'm like, you guys just need to, throw all that shit away, man, and so to me, that's that's where I kind of was going with the song. But I've had some people tell me that they're taking it as a kind of a political standpoint. I've had other couple people who were in a rough spot just kind of telling me that, like, they just woke up one day and it was kind of like, you just got to say fuck it,
Mm-hmm.
and so it's really interesting to hear different interpretations of it.
Yeah.
But there's a couple songs on the album where it's like, there's no other way that I can possibly see, to reinterpret the song. There are a couple that are just very, very straightforward and a very pretty forward message. So it's going to be interesting when the album gets released to hear some different takes on it and see what people are thinking.
Definitely. And you have such like what I think is great is that I feel like your music is very laid back to listen to, and from what you're telling me, the songwriting process is very laid back as well, which is really good. But do you feel like sometimes being very laid back, like you also want to be focused and you don't want to like take too much time with it, and you don't want to there has to be some moments of like real technical seriousness as well, right? Because the music is technically impressive.
I mean, I when I was growing up, man, and I'd go into the studios and it was like, you're limited. I started out with like a little 4-track, and that's what I had. I had a 4-track, and if I was writing a song, I had to figure out a way to make the song work on a 4-track, and I've always kind of liked that approach. So, nowadays, I'm running Pro Tools in my studio, and, now you've got unlimited tracks. I mean, I could put down 1,000 guitar tracks if I wanted to, in a song, but I've got everything rigged up through an old AMR console here, and this console only allows me 32 channels, and so I just really kind of stick with, if I'm writing a song, and, of course, if there's a complexity that needs to happen, in the song Rise Up, there is a lot of vocal harmonies kind of happening in the main chorus there, where I ended up kind of fudging a little bit and, going into my Pro Tools, and I think there's probably, about 15 double track backing vocal tracks there, which was a little bit, overboard on this. But, in the old school mentality, well, I just bounced them into 2 channels, and I got to put that on 31 and 32. So I kind of really just try to limit myself to, how, because it can get overcomplicated and overdone. And, there's times where, it would be really cool to have, 20 guitars doing, these 5th part harmonies, and having, double and triple track solos going on. But I don't think that's really the Them Damn Kings approach. So I've really tried to limit it down to that's how we, can stay more focused and not get over complex with a song.
Well, what's funny is because talking about this, we're discussing you take inspiration from classic rock bands, and you take that inspiration very well. The music is very technically excellent, but what I find so hilarious is like when I would like meet bands or whatever, see bands, and they say, yeah, we want to be just like Guns N' Roses, we want to be like Led Zeppelin, bring back the old days. I'm like, oh cool, so how do you record it? And they're like, oh yeah, we use Pro Tools with this multi-track recording and like a 64 console set, like a 64 channel console. I'm like, wait a minute, but that's not how they did it.
Yeah, man. One of my first, I was going into a friend of mine was making a song and asked me to come in and play some guitar parts. And I hadn't recorded in years. I kind of deviated from playing for a little bit, and I was out doing some audio gigs and with Lacuna and all that. And back in the day when I went into the studio, we had it was reel to reels and this big console, and if you didn't go in prepared, you were just wasting your time and their time, so it's like, maybe we'd screw up the song, you'd have to start over and play it again, and maybe if the engineer was really good, you could get a nice punch in here and there, but I'm sitting there in this kid's studio, and I'm looking around, and it's like, he's just got this laptop. And that's it. And I'm like, what the and some really nice speakers, and he had a very nice room, but I'm like, man, where's the big ass console and all your outboard gear? But I kept my mouth shut, and I said, so I'm playing this song, and I'm going for it. I'm listening, and always it just stops. I played the chorus part, the chorus part riff, and he just stops. He's like, okay, cool, man, I got that. I was like, what do you mean you have it, man? Like, we didn't finish the song. He's like, no, I'll just cut up and copy and paste your guitar part, and then let's go back and do the verse part. And I'm like, are you kidding me? No, man, what are you talking? Like, dude, just put the song on, hit record, and let me go all the way through, man. Why'd you stop? It didn't make sense to me. And so I think that just set such a terrible, terrible taste in my mouth that I never, ever want to do something like that.
Yeah, I feel like if you're going to make a rock and roll record, people want to criticize like a lot of rock bands, being like, they don't have their own identity. It thrives too much on nostalgia. I'm like, I don't think that's a problem at all. There's so much with rock and roll that there hasn't been said before. I think the sky's the limit. But if you're going to try to make something authentic, you got to make every aspect of it authentic. You can't just dress like Jimmy Page and, play, a $7,000 Gibson and, right, so you also want to record it. People could tell analog will always sound better than digital.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's kind of a shame because I did most everything analog on this record, but when it went to go out to mastering, it's kind of like I had to dump it in and kind of prepare it for that, where I kind of had to redigitize everything, and it was like, well, this doesn't sound anything like, but it's kind of missing some characteristic that was there too, and it just kind of takes it all away, but I get it too, I'll go back and listen to some older records, and it just they don't ever really kind of sound quite as polished, I guess you could say, but at the same time though, they weren't supposed to, I mean, the Beatles didn't come up with great songs by being a polished act, like the Tomatoes guys are, as rock and roll can be, just like, let's hit a studio and make a song, man. And, you listen to, the first Van Halen record and compare it to anything happening now, that record's huge,
Yeah, definitely. And look, no judgmental. Everybody has their own process. Everybody has their own preferences. Everybody has their own methodologies. It's all, I don't like think that if somebody's using digital that, they're selling out or anything like that.
No, not at all.
I just think that if you want it to sound as authentic as possible and really have that throwback sound, you got to go back to the full on roots. It's not just the image and really the sound that you have to replicate. It's also the process behind it.
I think that's a lot of, especially in live shows, and don't get me wrong, I'm really not bagging on anybody because, hey, look, man, 15 years ago, you're watching Back to the Future and, they're like, talking, I guess, it was like FaceTime back then, you're with your little home phone and you can video down, man, we went right from, basically dial tone or, the rotary phones to, we could video each other right on our phones now. So it's like, it's same with the recording technology where it's like, anytime you add something, somebody's going to find a new way to use it. I mean, I think Jim Morrison said it, where he was like, the future's going to be electronics and, this and that. And then Nine Inch Nails came out and it was like, wow, I would have never, and a lot of people back then, oh, Nine Inch Nails, bunch of sellouts and this and that, and it was like, he found a way to, to make music with the tools, that are in front of him there, and this new technology that's going on, and I think there's a place for technical bands. There's a place for all this. There's a place for I was watching a thing with Devin Townsend the other day, and just how many he just has this just this wall of sound happening because he's just stacking and stacking and stacking tracks, and so there's definitely a place for it all. But yeah, I think if I can't go out there and say hey man, we're a 4-piece rock and roll band, but we used 20 different instruments in the studio, and we can't recreate that live without some playback system that might crash in the middle of our show. I would expect if I ever were to go out there and play a show where I had to use backing tracks, I'd expect you to throw tomatoes at me, because that's just not what we're all about. And that's not to say that other that's some other artists really need to, but that's just not what we're all about. This is much more no frills approach.
Definitely. And again, to each his own, and respects to every single artist for their own methodologies. Everything happens for a reason.
Absolutely.
Yep. So before we go, I want to thank you so much for your time today. I really enjoyed this discussion. Just obviously, thanks to a certain virus that shall not be named on this outlet. I'm not giving it any publicity, but obviously I know shows are not happening at the moment. And being on how authentic you guys are, can we be expecting some live stream performances with the release of Rise Up, or is there anything you would like to promote for Them Damn Kings as well?
I don't. I think you're going to see a couple more videos and a couple more singles. You never know what's going to happen tomorrow, man. I don't really expect to, to do any sort of streaming live show. It's just, I don't even really know, why. I just feel that that's not really going to happen. But if it does, you never know. Who knows what tomorrow's going to bring. So, if it does happen, everybody will know about it. And, until then, you can get up there and check us out. And, please support us and, go up to iTunes and, you can download the single, throw it away there. Please get up to YouTube and check out the video and make sure you hit that subscribe button, man. But other than that, you can find us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. I think we're on TikTok now or something. And, we're just hanging out, sitting here, doing, wait until it all happens again. So hit us up, man. Talk to us. We're around.
Thank you, man. Well, I appreciate it, Jeff. Everybody, Jeff of Them Damn Kings, Rise Up, coming out very soon. Be sure to check out the new single, Throw It All Away. This is Alex from Heavy New York, and we will see you next time.